Okay, on this video, I'm about to give you the secret that every six-figure professional speaker that cannot figure out how to go from 6 to 7 figures is starving to understand. In the non-celebrity category, very few speakers ever make it to 7 figures. In the United States alone, the place that dominates the professional speaking business, remember, everything I'm talking about is non-celebrity speaking. If you're Bill Clinton or you're some movie star like Tom Cruise or you're the Beach Boys or Bob Dylan, you're a celebrity. You get paid to show up and shake hands and take pictures and kiss babies. The non-celebrity category is the big category. That's people like me that I can walk down the main street of my town and no one knows me. The only people that know me and I'm famous to is my fan base. And so no one else knows us. So we're the non-celebrity category, the largest category in the business. Okay, so the non-celebrity speakers that make it to 6 figures, and God bless them because it's not an easy thing to do. About 1 out of 10,000 people that attempts that gets to 6 figures in the speaking business. You won't hear that at National Speakers Association, believe me. I've been a member for 25 years. They will not reveal that. That's what the real numbers are. It's akin to going to Hollywood and saying, here I am, Hollywood, I want to be an actor. Put me in movies, and then I make $100,000 a year or more. That almost never happens. Almost no one in Hollywood makes $100,000 a year. Yeah, Tom Cruise makes what Tom Cruise makes, and some of the top people. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage, a fraction of 1%. Okay, everyone else is washing cars and waiting tables. Okay, trying to break in. But speaking is much the same. But if you do get to 6 figures, now the big thing is, can you get to 7? Almost no one makes it to 7, and I'm going to tell you at least one of the major, the biggest way I know, the way I did it, the way a few other people I know, very few people have ever done this, in this way at least, but I'm going to give you the answer that if you implement, you will go from 6 to 7 figures. I can almost guarantee it. No guarantees, but close. Okay, that's how big a deal this is, and I can almost promise you, you will never hear this anywhere else, because I've been in this business, traveling around the world for the last 25 years. I've spoken about it at national speakers events all over Australia, Europe, Canada, of course, all across the United States, multiple NSA chapters, and they collectively yawn when I talk about this system, and most of them aren't making any money, and we've made tens of millions of dollars doing this over the years, and it's crazy, but I'm going to give it to you. Okay, this is my gift to you, is what it took me a lot of years to learn, but people gave it to me. They mentored me over time. We kind of pieced this together. Okay, I'll give you an idea about how few people go from 6 to 7 figures. When National Speakers Association founded the $1 Million Speakers Group, which meant you had to show by a P&L statement submitted to KPMG in Phoenix, the accounting firm, that you made at least $1 million a year in speaking-related revenue. Okay, in 2009 they started that. I was one of the original members. Out of 5,000 members worldwide in National Speakers Association, 19 people, speakers, qualified. I was one of those speakers. Okay, and that's it, out of 5,000. I was the chairman of that group. In 2011, 39 of us qualified. The biggest group I've ever seen. I've been a member since the inception. Ever since then, I qualified every single year. And the biggest group we ever had, I think, was 62 people. Okay, people like Brian Tracy and Nito Quabain and Bill Backrack and big hitters in this business, Diana Boer. I could drop other names, but a lot of names you wouldn't even know. They're just really, really good, savvy speakers. But the difference between the 6-figure speaker and the 7-figure speaker typically is not platform prowess or speaking skills. It's usually business savvy, and that's what this is an example of. Okay, believe me, I know 6-figure speakers that are better speakers than I am, and I know 6-figure speakers that are better than speakers even grossing more than we've grossed over the years. It really tends to be, you've got to be really good on the platform, but it does reach a point of diminishing returns because you've got to be really competent at the paid professional level. Okay, you've got to be really good on the platform. You have to be able to entertain a live audience that does not even want to be there sometimes, and that happens to every professional speaker. They want to be in the casino or on the golf course or shopping somewhere, rather than listening to us speak. But they have to be there because they're employees at a convention and they're being paid to be there. So sometimes they're not on our side, and we've got to be so good that we pull them on our side. We pull them back into the fold. So you've got to be good enough to do that, and every 6-figure speaker out there pretty much is. And the 7-figure speakers, again, the reason 7 figures typically speakers usually get to 7 figures is because they're more business savvy. They're better business people, basically, and that's been my experience anyway. And that's why a fair amount of the people in the $1 Million Speakers Group and National Speakers Association, you wouldn't even know the names. They're not famous speakers, but they make 10 times as much as a lot of the other famous speakers. The people that everyone knows a lot of times don't make that much money. They're not that good at business people. They like to talk, but these people are business people that happen to speak. They're very, very bright. And the people that showed me the system over time, that put it together, Larry Wilson being the main person, Ray Pelletier being the backup person, are very, very, they're both deceased now, but they were both very, very bright people. Larry Wilson was the genius of this business. It's another story for another time. But I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. Okay, and this catapult, I was making about $500,000 a year, probably back in 2002, 2003, something like that. And I wanted to go to $1 million and beyond, and I learned this system, and it's called proprietary research. Okay, and the system's not called that, but that's what we do. We do proprietary research. In other words, we do in-depth. When I say in-depth, I mean in-depth with a capital I and a capital D. Research. Proprietary, our own research. We do it through a number of ways. We do it through phone calls. We do it through Zoom calls now. We do it through surveys, customized surveys. We drill down so deep that a lot of times, more times than not, the audience thinks we've worked for the company before. Since I'm the person that goes up on the platform, they think I'm a former executive with the company. Because what they say to us afterwards is, there's no way you could possibly have the information, the inside information you have on this organization unless you were a senior executive here. How could you possibly know these things? And I tell them, I say, we have a staff, we have a team, and we do in-depth research, and you gave us access, and we got there's no way our people would tell you those things. Well, they did. And they do with every single company. Okay, I just pulled out some of on my file drawer. I pulled out, this is a company out of Peoria, Illinois. It's called Coulter. They're a big sanitation company, very successful. Here's all the research we did on these guys. This is pages and pages and pages. This one's for Transamerica when I keynoted their national convention one year. This is GlaxoSmithKline. I have probably 50 of these or 60 of these from GlaxoSmithKline. All this in-depth, customized information. We're not talking about what's your favorite color. Okay, we're talking about the inner workings of these organizations. In our case, sales organizations. In-depth research to the point where they think we work there. Yamanouchi Pharmaceutical out of Tokyo. We did a 2-year contract with Yamanouchi. Monster.com. They were another one. We did all kinds of research on them. BAE Systems, the biggest defense contractor in the world, or in the United States at least. I don't know if it's the world, but we worked with their senior executive team. I have hundreds and hundreds of these. Still, I keep a copy of them typically from over the years. And so we gather all this research. And then what we do, instead of saying, hey guys, set goals. Think big and you'll be big. Have a vision for your life. These are all wonderful things. And they're pedestrian. And that's why people a lot of times stay at $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 a year in this business, because they're telling people things they already know. Your 8th grade son or daughter knows those things. They're pedestrian. They're basic. Okay? But when you start doing proprietary research on a $60 billion company and you start telling them things they've never heard from their own people, you're dangerous. Now you're worth your weight in gold. Now you're not just a speaker. Okay, so now we drum up all this proprietary research. We find out what's going on. We're looking inside their windows, or so they think. Their people are giving us all the information. That's another video for another time how we do it. And then what we say is, we present the research. They're shocked. They've never heard it before because we're going deep and we know how to do it. And then we say, don't feel bad. Other companies like Johnson & Johnson and Procter & Gamble and Microsoft and, we go to Caterpillar, all these companies we worked with over the years, they had the same problem. And here's what we did. We have a system. It's called the mental toughness process. It's based on a book called the 177 Mental Toughness, and this is the book we use. This is my book from way back. And we use the process that's in this book. It's called the mental toughness process. And then they say, well, we can't afford to have you guys at the fees you charge, although they can afford it. They say, we don't want to pay those fees. And we say, exactly. We're going to coach your people, your managers with this book, which is a monster. As you can see, it's, I don't know how many pages. I haven't counted them in so long. 500 pages roughly. I haven't seen it, so I haven't looked at it in so long, the page count. We use this one to train their managers, and then we give them copies of this and say, you do the training. And you know what happens? They can't do it. They're not good enough to do it. They do what we do. They build airplanes. They make, pharmaceutical drugs. They sell financial services, whatever they do. They call us back 3 months later and go, you know what? There's more to this than it seems. You guys come back and you do your process and fix our problems. And that's what we do. And that's how you go from a speaker making 100, 200, 300 grand a year, kind of toying with this business a little bit, to paying that in taxes in a quarter. Okay, that's where the big money is, because what you're effectively doing is creating value. That's why this book is 500 pages long. It's not rocket science, but it has 1,068 critical thinking questions in this book. Questions they would never think of because it's not their business. Okay, we're probing, we're prodding, we're looking for answers, and what we're doing in the process is we're creating massive value. So now you're not just a speaker; you're solving a multi-million-dollar and potentially $1 billion problem for a multi-billion-dollar organization. Now you're worth your weight in gold. Now you charge them $5 million for the contract, and they go, we spend more than that to clean all our parking lots and all our offices around the world every year. Why don't we pay you the $5 million instead and actually, let's come up with a $200 or $300 million benefit and increase sales and market share. Now you're not just a speaker, you're a problem solver, and you're also a multimillionaire.